we turn live, man, you know it's the truth. Every after show, moving down, this the time to move around. No Gimmicks podcast is going down. Every night, every time in the ring. This is time for no gimmicks, no, we doing our thing. What's your state of mind? State divine. Moving down a statement when we take the line. This is exactly wrestling the state design. When you see Stone Cold like me, with the stunner in the world, exactly, man, what we bring. Every night we move like Brock Lesnar. The F5, no gimmicks. We take you to your limit. What's the feeling? When we live in the air, you know we on. It's the time. Guarantee we move. You know how we respond. The state is mine. The state design when we feel it.
Yo, 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 yo. What is up, people? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks podcast here on the DFPN. We are back and we are outside of Patreon for our first show of the month. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got a good show for you guys tonight. A lot of good stuff happening. Before we get into the show, before I kick off the announcements, I want to give a shout out to Brother Marquise from the 2 Live crew. You may not have known, but Brother Marquise was briefly a part of the DFPN, and he had a show, My Art, My Rules, that we were working on. Unfortunately, that never really took off. But we want to send his family our deepest condolences. Shout out to Brother Marquise. May you rest in peace, brother. Thank you for bringing us your light. Thank you for making a lot of us young kids understand what the dirtiness of the world was. You are very much appreciated. May your travels be good and rest well, my brother. Peace on. Now, let's get to the show. Welcome. Shout out to our sponsors, Cons Custom Creations. Shout out to her. Follow her at IG at cons_customs creations. Follow us on the Patreon. We are working today. This has been a busy week for Patreon. So shout out to Mac, aka your boy. We had Mims on Monday. Normally, No Gimmicks is taped on Patreon. But again, our first show of the month, we actually do that one outside the paywall. But follow us at Patreon, www.patreon.com/thatfeelingpodcast. And make sure you subscribe to the Bandcamp, thatfeeling.bandcamp.com. And to my co-host, the fabulous one, Frankie D. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, man?
We got a good show, man. We got a good show. Before we go into the meat and potatoes, I did want to throw something out. I wanted to follow up on a conversation we had last week. And that is the one we had about Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, but hold on a second.
Go ahead.
Before we get to all that. So all right. I believe in being transparent here. So yep. I'm going to be transparent. All right. So the other night, okay, I was checking out numerous different videos of Star Wars, and I came across one of the actors from the Acolyte talking about how, Anakin destroyed a whole Death Star, which I had to go back to the movies and watch that because, So I kind of engaged in a conversation with one of, my fellow podcasters.
Yep.
You know who you are, Rob. So basically, the conversation kind of went a little sideways. All right. Now, I'll be honest, you kind of pissed me off. You did. You pissed me off. All right. And me being, I'm Puerto Rican and black, I got a fiery temper.
It's all on.
Yeah, I so shit gets on. So I brought up some stuff. He said he wasn't going to entertain this mess and whatever. All right. So I'm like, okay, this motherfucker just blew me off. So it pissed me. It pissed me off, right? It
Yep.
did. I came to you and told you what's up, right?
Yep.
So thought about it for a couple of days. Because at the time I get into my feels, I'm like, well, whatever, like blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? That's just how I am. I'm
Nothing
like,
wrong with that.
this shit is stupid as fuck to me, bro. Like, this is really like dumb, right? So I was apparent. I didn't know this, but apparently he sent me a message. I didn't even listen to the message. I deleted the shit because I was still in my feels. And then you just told me what's up. So I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, I'm gonna be a real one, and I'm gonna just come on here and address the shit.
Yep.
Just say a message to Rob. I'm gonna say we don't have no problem. We ain't got no beef. I look forward to talking to you. And that's pretty
Right
much
on.
that's is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing about DFPN. Um, because quite honestly, I was actually, and I'm gonna be full blown transparent here with everything.
Go ahead.
A lot of people don't know. I'm more of the conservative type. Okay, I
Mhm.
I am very conservative. All right, but I also listen to the other side. So
Right.
my I just felt my representation of the DFPN is like, if I say something, it's a problem if I say something if people don't agree with it. And I actually went to you the other night. I sent you a message privately, and I said, I'm actually thinking about just leaving the network. I actually thinking about, this will be, if we record No Gimmicks, this is going to be the last episode of No Gimmicks that I'm going to do, because I just don't
Right.
belong in the network. I belong in the system, and that's just me being in my feels because of the entire climate of how everything is right now.
Right.
And then I thought about it for a little while, and I said, fuck that. I have a voice, and I'm gonna
You
use.
do.
I'm gonna fucking stand on my beliefs. I'm not going to just say, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna talk. No, I'm gonna fucking talk, because that's the problem. No one talks. It's always one
Exactly.
side of the conversation. So we will continue to do what we do here on No Gimmicks, which makes it work. You have your opinion, I have my opinion, and then we mesh
Yep.
those opinions well, and we have great dialogue. And that's no different than any of the other hosts that I've ever interacted here on DFPN, whether it be Jeff, whether it be Rob, whether it be Mac, anybody we've ever done any business with, and that's just how it goes.
Yep.
Yep. So I just want to clear the air on that, being full transparent here, as only the fabulous one can do. Dark Lord of the Sith. I want to put that out there and just say, hey, Rob, no hard feelings, bro. If you had just told me that, you had, whatever, I would have been like, whatever. But the way it came off to me was like, this dude's like saying, fuck you, fuck your opinion, fuck you, whatever. That's how I took it. And on top of it, I'm at fucking work already. I'm dealing with fucking retards. So, you know, that's just what it is. So that's what it is, man. So no
Nah,
hard
man. That's
feelings. Yeah.
nah. That's grown shit. I appreciate it, but you got to know too. Like a lot of DFPN, like we come from the military, so it's easy for us to speak and not really hold no grudges on what's coming back. So the fact that you have your opinions, bro, like I appreciate the shit out of it. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one on the network that appreciates your stances on shit and how you approach it, because all of us know that what you're saying, like you're being honest with it. And at the end of the day, even if it's something like we really don't like, which it ain't a lot of shit you say that's just like outlandish, you speaking your truth. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of
I
us,
think
a
what it,
lot of us appreciate that shit.
I just, well, what I always come to the table with, and what I've always tried to do, and it's just, not even just what I do. And I see through, I call bullshittery. I see through it. I can, that's just how I am. I'm that way with people too. I can see your game, because I'm street smart like that. So I can see
Right.
the game being played. You feel me? And
Right.
that's all it is. It's all games here. It's like, you're not really standing for what you say you're standing for. You're doing other shit, and that's
Right.
that's what I'm getting at here. And that's kind of where It's kind of where I was at with it. You feel me? And maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't. Maybe I wasn't correlating it the same. The way it should have been going. I don't know what it was. It just maybe I don't know. The universe wasn't. The force wasn't balanced that night. I don't know what it was. It was late. It was on his end. It was early on my end because I was on duty.
Right. You was
So
yeah.
I'm wired. You know what I mean? So
Nah, man, like shit like that, bro. Like it's easy for us to talk about it. Even if we disagree on shit, it's easy for us to be like, I respect the fuck out of the opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like I do. Which is why I know that the show works, because we have different opinions on shit. And we're able to talk about it. Like what people don't really know, like why the show works, is we could disagree on a plethora of shit, and then by the end come to an agreement on it. And that's the beautiful part of No Gimmicks, because
and
it's both of us giving our opinions. So
and it's like we've known each other for a long fucking time. So that's that's kind of how it goes. Like the first Star Wars movie I ever went to was with this dude and his wife and my wife. We went to The Last Jedi. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we walked out like, what the fuck did we just watch? So
like, what the fuck was that?
yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to, like I said, I just wanted to come on here and clear the air on that shit and be like, DFPN family. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, my guy. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. But let's get to the talk. So last week we did talk about not really so much Anakin Skywalker, but how his power, his search for power, and how that ended up being. And we had a conversation before the show that I want to dive into too, with Skywalker / Vader. Did he really see himself as evil? Was he evil, or was it something in him still clinging to him? Because last week I said he operated off rage, which to me, I feel like it was kind of like Stone Cold. It's like he's Anakin Skywalker, but he's dialed up to 1,000 on anger. So was he really evil? Did he consider himself evil, or was he just angry?
I honestly believe that and this comes off of the heels of the Dave Filoni interview the other day where he was talking to Headland,
right?
And he brought up that he doesn't believe that Anakin ever thought he was actually evil, and I kind of agree with that a little bit, somewhat, and the reason why is this. Okay. Now, if you go back to, and I brought this up last week about the power part, and just because you want power and crave power doesn't mean that you necessarily you're evil. It just means you're greedy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he wanted the universe to be what he wanted it to be. That's what he said. We can, I'm more powerful than the Chancellor. I can overthrow him, and together you and I can rule the galaxy, make things the way we want them to be. That's what he was saying. But in doing that, look at all the acts that came before that, which you could say, okay, that's evil shit because he killed the younglings. All the Jedi were pretty much massacred by the clone troopers. Palpatine put into place. So then you get to Return of the Jedi when Luke Skywalker's there and Luke is telling him he still feels that he senses the goodness out of him. Let go of his hate. It's too late for me, son.
Right.
Basically, I can't be redeemed. He says, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master. So, my thing is this. You're only evil if you do evil acts and you don't take any accountability for it. I think Anakin took accountability for his shit. He obviously took accountability for his evil acts in Return of the Jedi. When he told Luke, I can't, it's too late for me. Like, basically, he felt he could not be redeemed. Like, I cannot go against this guy. but
Right.
he feared Palpatine. So was he truly evil? I honestly, and I'm listening to Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, the
Mm-hmm.
novelization. I'm listening to that, and just his thoughts, the thought process of Darth Vader and what he was saying, and his whole process was, if only they had listened to me, it didn't have to be this way. If only the Jedi would have listened to me. If only Obi-Wan would have listened to me. If only Padme would have listened to me, they would still be here with me right now. I wouldn't be here stuck in this damn suit. That's his feelings.
Right. Which is why I said he kind of operated off rage. There was a lot of anger.
Emotion.
Right. And that goes back to what I was saying about like how his rise was. For me, the way I interpreted his rise was he was a kid that got plucked from his mom.
Right.
Although he kind of volunteered for that, he was thankful that he wasn't in slavery anymore. So he felt like he kind of owed these people. Then the one person he got attached to got killed in a battle. So they stuck him with another guy who really was just following the order, right? He didn't really have like Anakin's best interest for the individual. He had the best interest for the Force and not him. And Anakin coming up the way he did, I felt like a lot of the things that he did while he was under the Jedi Order was for the fact that he just wanted the validation. He wanted the approval. And I think being a Jedi Master was his ultimate validation. Well, I'm here. I made it.
He is
I've
the
arrived.
chosen. He's the chosen.
Right.
So he should be going. So let me ask you this question real quick and go to delve into wrestling, and then we'll go back into Star Wars because it kind of goes toe and toe.
Okay.
Was Hulk Hogan, when Hogan turned heel, was Hulk Hogan really a bad guy? Or was his heel turn justified?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. So I'll answer it by saying I believe it was justified, because if you look at for where he was during that period of time, he was doing everything a hero should do, right? He was running in, making the save, he was winning the matches. He had the opposition that he was beating, right? But he wasn't getting the validation from the audience. The audience got tired of the act. So at that point in time, by the time he made his mind up that he was actually going to be a heel, it was justified. You guys didn't give me the validation. I've worked my butt off years and years and years for you people, only to be met with boos for being the hero in the situation. So why be the hero?
Every great hero eventually becomes a villain.
Live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Correct. Yep. And that's exactly what happened with Hulk Hogan. It was, okay, I came out here for, what do you say at the Bachelor Beach? For 2 years, brother. For 2 years, I held my head high. I did everything for the charities. I did everything for the kids. And the reception I got when I came out here, you fans can stick it, brother.
Yep.
That was justified. So it wasn't really, and that's why people were cheering that, because it was what it is. So when you take it back to Skywalker, same thing. Anakin did so much for the Jedi Council, did so much for the cause, did so much for the Republic, went into many wars with the clone troopers for the Republic.
Right.
Never, as you mentioned, never to really get the validation that he needed. Mace Windu hated Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly.
Obi-Wan thought he was useless in the beginning.
Yep.
So you put all this into perspective. Was Anakin truly evil? I think it's 50-50, man. It's half and half. I think he's evil. I think he did evil shit. Yes, Vader was evil.
Yes.
Vader, at the point when he became, so I look at it like this, because I don't look at him as the same. There's Anakin and then there's Vader. Okay. The moment that the moment Sidious says, henceforth you shall be known as Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker ceased to exist. It was a little bit of Anakin Skywalker still there. And that's why he lost to Obi-Wan. It was the cockiness of Anakin Skywalker is the reason why he failed on Mustafar and lost his limbs. When he lost his limbs, and it was full circle after that. When he got the suit on, that's it. That is evil Darth Vader right there. That dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think there may have been still a little bit of hope to save him a little bit before that happened, but after that, it was done.
So let me ask you this question: Once Mustafar happens and he loses, does he cling to the dark side in the hopes, because he was fucked up, in the hopes that it could heal him, or he did all of this right? He loses at Mustafar, and look, Max, let him know I'm making on my.
Well, I appreciate that. Come to the dark side. Come to the dark side. It's better over here. It's a lot hotter.
It's okay. But Mustafar happens, right? He loses.
Right.
He loses to Obi-Wan.
Right.
Is there any part of Anakin Skywalker that says, I can't go back to the Jedi because of what I did with Obi-Wan, so I have to be a Sith?
He couldn't go back to the Jedi because there are no more Jedi. That's it. The council was destroyed. He couldn't go back there. He already pledged his allegiance to Palpatine. Palpatine basically would have killed him.
Oh yeah, he did.
Is what happened. So, and the thing about it too was, so the inhibitor chips inside the clones, they had it basically was, Order 66, take out the Jedi, but
right.
they also had a code for Anakin as well. If Anakin had not did what he did, and this was during the assault on the Jedi Temple, what they call it Nightfall Vader. If he had not gone through with his going through what they were going to do, Sidious would have turned their clones on him. That's why people wonder, well, why does Anakin escape order? Why didn't they do anything to him? Because he wasn't a part of that. Sidious always had the intention of Anakin being his apprentice, so it was never going to happen. So I guess the whole point of it is, was Anakin truly evil? I think Anakin was corrupted by the dark side. I think he had a lot of attachment issues, obviously, with Padme, with Obi-Wan. He lost Qui-Gon in the beginning, very early on, being manipulated by Palpatine. And Palpatine is promising you all these different things, So it's like I said before. I think Anakin wasn't evil. Vader was evil, because it's two different beings. They're not the same at all. Anakin's still there a little bit, as we saw in Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's there a little bit, but as soon as Anakin tries to come out, Vader takes over. And that's just how it goes. So it's kind of like Anakin wasn't evil. Vader was definitely evil. Vader was evil until Vader started getting the attachment issue again, because he found out he has a son. And from the moment he found out he had a son, it was downhill for the Empire at that point, because Vader was conflicted. Vader would now to say this, Vader never would have turned to the light side. Vader never would have turned to the light side. Vader was going to just say, me and Luke can rule the galaxy together as father and son, but under the guise of the dark side, under the guise of the Sith. He wanted to turn Luke into a Sith. Not say, okay, let's go back to the light side.
Right.
That wasn't going to happen. He wanted him to be a Sith like him. That's why he says, you have a twin sister. Obi-Wan was wise to use. Correct. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. So that's how it went down. And then when Vader, ends up dying, who comes to his rescue to take him to show him the ways to become a Force ghost? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because he's apologized for everything he did. And Obi-Wan's kind of like, dude, shut the fuck up and listen to me. I'm about to tell you how to become one with the Force. And that's how he shows up at the end of Return of the Jedi. So
Good shit. Good
yeah.
shit. Very good shit. Yeah, I had this thing to where I was just like, it's all in, and this again, this goes back to what I said last week. It's all in who's evil is in their view. And maybe Vader had not Vader, but Anakin was actually just clinging on to whatever he could, you know what I mean, to survive. Because it wasn't easy being Vader. It really wasn't. A lesser
He asked
person, a lesser user of the Force probably wouldn't have survived it.
he asked Obi-Wan, and they muted this in the movie, but when Obi-Wan first, brings him down, he's begging Obi-Wan to help him. But they muted that part in the movie. But he's begging him. He says, he's saying, help me, master, is what he's saying. Like that one little last thing.
And he can't.
Of helping.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan won't help him. And that's when he says, I hate you. That right there, he went full. It was like he went full at that point. But as you continue on watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's still early on as Vader. He's still very much conflicted because his fixation is Obi-Wan. No different than Darth Maul. What led to Maul's defeat is his fascination and his just obsession with Kenobi. That's what it was.
Yep.
So and Maul tried to warn him about Sidious in Order 66. Ahsoka didn't listen.
No, he didn't. No, he did not. They and that's the thing about the Jedi, man. It's like, yeah, and because the Jedi, I can't even believe I'm about to say this shit. The Jedi aren't exactly the perfect order either. You know what I mean? Like,
what?
they are not. They are not. They have flaws. They have flaws. And the biggest flaw was with Anakin Skywalker and how they handled him. Which it makes him being Vader justified. It really does. But that's the beauty of the story because it doesn't make him evil, it makes the whole thing tragic. That you didn't listen to this guy and his life wasn't exactly easy and you put the Force ahead of him. You know what I mean? When Qui-Gon saw the truth, but he died.
Yeah.
And that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
But speaking of mishandling, let's go into wrestling because I want to compare and contrast. Last night I was watching Raw and I saw Bronn Breaker and how the WWE is handling Bronn Breaker. Very slowly, very carefully, they are inserting him and they're letting him rise on his own, right? The crowd is eating this shit up. They love Bronn Breaker. I want to compare this to AEW and how they handled Wardlow. Because these are two very similar people. But you see how the WWE handles Bronn Breaker, and you've seen how AEW handles Wardlow.
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest difference? Because they are very similar. What is the biggest difference between the two?
The biggest difference is that you actually have the machine behind Bronn Breaker. You have people there that essentially know what they're doing and how to build talent. That's the one thing that WWE, WWF has always been able to do was build talent. When WCW was in the war with them, and basically WCW had acquired a lot of their, older talents, like the Macho Mans, like the Hulk Hogans, the Scott Hall, Kevin Nashes. But WWF essentially had to start from scratch and build up new stars. They had to bring in, the Ringmasters and the Mankinds, and the Goldust and all these different characters to rebuilt their organization, and then the ringmaster would become Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star of the Attitude Era. Then you had another youngster named Rocky Maivia there. You had Hunter Hearst Helmsley. You had Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, all these different cats over there that were in the Federation. The Undertaker, Kane, Ken Shamrock, New Age Outlaws. The Godfather, Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown, Farouk, Flash Funk. You had all these the Godwins. Everybody on that roster. They were basically rebuilding the talent pool, and they were handling it. Everybody had something to do.
Right.
You look at the thing here with Bronn Breaker and Wardlow. The comparisons here is that Bronn Breaker hasn't been in the business as long as Wardlow, as far as being on television. Wardlow's been on TV longer than Bronn Breaker, but Bronn Breaker caught on, and Bronn Breaker he just has it, man. I mean, the guy is Rick Steiner's son, so he has it. The Big Papa Pump is his uncle, so he already has that going for him. He already has a certain reputation that he has. The guy was football player before this, so he has a certain reputation that he wants to keep on here, and also defend the family name. And the Steiners are going to do everything they can to be at the top. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at him, you look at Wardlow, like what happened with Wardlow? Wardlow's, I've always said that Wardlow had something with that Powerbomb Symphony. That thing was over. And Wardlow, I looked at him like, this guy could be the next Batista. That's how over he was. And I thought the presentation was always wrong. I thought the music was wrong. I thought he should have had pyrotechnics when he was coming in, because he had an aura about him when he would walk from the back to the ring. That's okay. That's Goldberg shit. That works. You know what I'm saying? And it builds the anticipation that, okay, somebody is about to get murked right now when this dude comes out.
Bad. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what they had. And then I don't know what happened, but it fell apart. And they had no plans. Now they got him in his faction that's completely useless because Adam Cole got injured. There's nothing there. There's no substance. There's nothing there to sink your teeth into when it comes to Wardlow. But then you look over here on the other side, they're building Bronn Breaker just slowly as you put building
monster,
in tents. You know what I'm saying? My only thing with him, and I might be wrong, this is just the old school fan in me. I'd like to see him drop the Breaker name and become Braun Steiner. That's what I would like.
I would want to see that too, honestly. Although I get it. They built that up in NXT, and they're actually doing a very good job of continuing shit from NXT now to the main roster. Case in point, Ilya Dragunov. He's also one that came from NXT, and he's flourishing right now. So they're doing a lot of little things that make a lot of sense in terms of developing guys, building them up, and then letting them be stars. As opposed to the past where an NXT star was a death knell if they got called up to the main roster. You're starting to see a lot of these guys involved, and that's good. You want to see that. But in terms of Wardlow, I don't know, man. It's like they build them, and then nothing. And the last time, like, I really knew, like, okay, this might be it for Wardlow is when he went up against Samoa Joe, and I was like,
I told you that too. I said that. I said that's a mistake. I said that the problem with this match is, I said somebody has to lose, and it's not going to be Samoa Joe.
He has not been the same since, man. He has not been the same since.
If you look at that match, and I said to him when we did the review afterwards, no motivation during that match. It's like, essentially, it looked like a dude had gave up. And I'm going to put this out there right now. I do believe when Wardlow's contract comes up, he's going to WWE.
That we'll get into that too. But what's up, Joe Ritchie? I'm a firm believer that we're about to see a mass migration. But that being said, Tony Khan came out and said something surprising to me, and he was willing to work with Ricky Starks now. And I don't know if that's because he's getting ready to leave or he wants out, but yeah, his name came up.
And what exactly does that entail? Okay, I'm willing to work with Ricky. Okay, so what you're saying is that I have all these toys, and I'm going to pick this toy over here. I want to play with this one for a couple weeks, and I'm going to put them back on the shelf because that's what
Right.
happens.
Right.
It's a start and stop situation here, and it's like, okay, bro, let me give y'all all here a history lesson in public. Okay, this is the way it goes. When when I'm about to rap to you, back in the day when they did Thunder, okay, Eric Bischoff did not want to do Thunder. He knew they didn't have the staffing for it. They didn't want to do it. But his vision for Thunder was it was going to be Bret Hart on Thunder having two pretty much separate rosters. You have
Kind
NWO
of like they do
Nitro,
now.
and then you have WCW would have Thunder.
Right.
I just don't, for the life of me, don't understand why AEW hasn't caught on to this by having Dynamite roster and then Collision. Two separate things. And that's why people initially in the beginning, people liked Collision because it was different than Dynamite because it was two separate things. And that's why Punk was saying, this is my show. Because they were doing things differently. If you want to do all the hokey BS, you go on Wednesday.
Go to Dynamite.
On Saturday, we don't do that here. And I don't understand for the life of me, okay, why is it that you guys haven't caught on to the fact that you have all this talent? You could be doing all this different shit on these shows.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have all these titles, all these champions and whatever. Why are you not having certain things happening on Dynamite and then certain things happening on Collision?
You could totally get away with that, and you could build people on Collision too.
Right, and
you can actually build talent on Collision.
You actually can. You could be doing big time stories on Collision. And the people don't understand this either. And that's once again, I'm about to give you a history lesson. The thing is this: before there was Monday Nitro, WCW Saturday night was the primary show for WCW. So that meant that all the major stuff that was happening in WCW happened on WCW Saturday night. WCW Worldwide was the other show they did. That was basically the syndicated show. But WCW Saturday night was always 6:05 to 6:05 Eastern, 3:05 Pacific. That was the main show until it became a B show when Nitro came along.
I used to watch that shit religiously.
Oh, hell yeah, we all did. And the main shows, what was the main shows for the WWF before Raw? Primetime Wrestling, Superstars Wrestling, Wrestling Challenge, Saturday night's main event when they would do it. The main event on Fridays when they would do it. Those were the main shows. So, and what happened is that things didn't go the way they wanted to with Thunder, and it started off Thunder strong. You had appearances on there by the NWO in the early days of it. Hogan would be on there, whatever. And then it slowly started becoming an afterthought, especially when they introduced SmackDown on UPN, which that changed the game. So to say that, you could have been building a monster like Wardlow on Collision. You could have been building this guy to the point where, okay, he is going to challenge now. There should be no reason why this company has been around as long as it has with a guy that looks like Wardlow, that's an athlete like Wardlow, that's charisma like Wardlow, that can cut a promo like Wardlow, not being World Heavyweight Champion.
Agreed.
That right there to me is a travesty of justice.
Agreed. There's a couple names in there that I say you could have built them on. You could have built them on Collision. There's a lot you could do on Collision, and you could have a pay-per-view attached to Collision, and not just Dynamite. And kind of like you did back in the day with WWE. SmackDown had their own pay-per-views,
and I think honestly, if just me personally, I honestly think that Rampage should be kind of like a recap show. That should be a clip show.
You know what I would do? I would make Rampage a Ring of Honor show.
Well, they can't because that's the problem. Warner Brothers isn't paying for Ring of Honor; they're paying for AEW.
Right.
Now I see what your point is, but I just think that you can do Dynamite, give a break on Rampage, build everything up to tomorrow night on Collision on TNT, yada 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 yada. That's what I would do.
But for AEW style, Rampage to me is actually a good show for AEW style, because AEW throws a lot of shit at you in the course of 2 hours. They do.
Yeah.
If you do it in the course of an hour, Rampage is actually not that bad of a show. And they often do better. They often do better development on Rampage for some reason. Some of the stories are better on Rampage than they are on Dynamite. It's weird how they operate, but I sometimes I like Rampage better than Dynamite. And for the longest time, when Collision first started, Collision was the best show they had, and
it was.
They got away from that.
Yeah, it did, and they got away from. Honestly, they got away from what made Rampage special. They got away from what made AEW special to begin with.
I would agree with that.
And once they get back to that, then they'll start doing something. Congratulations to AEW though. They were able to sustain their audience this past week.
They did.
And they put on a show. I mean, was the show good? Yeah, people, whatever. People were not saying it was a good show, but it was it had exactly. But the most important part was they were able to maintain, instead of their audience decreasing throughout the show, they were able to maintain their audience, especially during the second half of that show. They were able to pull that off. So kudos to them for that.
Right. Somebody said something interesting, and I'm gonna have to agree with it. Since they've started to let the show breathe a little bit, and they've cut the ring time a little bit, it's still about 50% wrestling, but they've leveled it out with promo work. Since they've done that, it's actually been a better show. And if they continue to do that, if they continue to keep it level, let the shows breathe a little bit, not throw so much at you in the course of 2 hours, because if something significant happens, you have about a minute. You have about a minute to digest it before they move on. Lately, they've been letting it happen, go to break, come back from break, talk about it, go to the next match. If they continue to do stuff like that, I'll be on board with it. I'll give it a chance.
One thing that I would do if I were there in the creative and they say, okay, well, what do you want to do tonight? Well, what I want to do is I want to take some of these guys and I want to repackage them into something else, but I want to play vignettes. I want to go record some vignettes to introduce this person is coming in, instead of just putting somebody on TV that nobody knows, or putting somebody on TV that you do know, but there's no backstory of where they've gone, where they've been, whatever. Let's do vignettes. Let's do like the old school vignettes they used to do in the WWF when they used to bring people in. Dusty Rhodes did a bunch of segments where he was the plumber, and he was the meat, the working at the meat shop. No, it's other dumb shit they were doing. you could, but he was just showing he was a common man.
Right.
So you do all that and you make a star, and people are familiarized when the guy comes in, like, oh, I can't wait to see what this guy does. I can't wait to see him debut. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But who would you rebrand first?
Oh, say it again?
Who would you rebrand first? Who absolutely needs to be rebranded and pushed?
Wardlow. He's the top of my list.
You would go Wardlow first?
I would go Wardlow because listen, I'm gonna tell you why I would go Wardlow first. I would go Wardlow first and give this guy a push, because I would be fearful that he is going to jump to the WWE, because he looks like a WWE guy anyway. All right.
And that is
in the land of the wrestlers that they have. Okay, I'm gonna just like this. Okay. Why is it in this faction that they're pushing, which is the NWO, 2.0?
Right.
Why in this faction do you not have a heavy like Wardlow?
Very good question.
You have Jack Perry out there. Nothing against Jack Perry. don't know Jack Perry. I'm looking at this as a fan critic. Okay, you're small. You're not believable at all. I've seen believability with Rey Mysterio. He go out there and kick ass, but you can believe that he can do it.
Right.
I don't believe in Jack Perry. All I see is a guy who grew a beard, and he's all of a sudden now supposed to be this ultra badass. But then on the video with CM Punk, it showed that you are not. That's the problem. If they had not released that footage, it would be a different story. Because he was still trying to figure out what the character was before that incident happened in Wembley. And I said right there, I said, okay, Jack Perry, he should be Hollywood Jack Perry. You should. People already think you because your dad was Luke Perry. Okay. You need to embrace that part. You should be coming out with Anna Jay. That's what you should be doing. You should be this arrogant prick asshole. But you went completely against the grain. Now you're the scapegoat and all this. Okay. That may have worked for the small minority New Japan fan base, but nobody's digging it here. And it shows.
Mm.
It shows by lack of reactions other than, CM Punk. Okay, let me ask you a question. If you're out there and you're trying to get over, but you're being drowned out by CM Punk chants, you ain't over. That's just basically, that's not heat. They're just getting at you because you're the person that got bitched out by CM Punk. So where's my heat? You're not booing me to boo me.
You can get it. You can. There's ways you can get it.
Are you booing
He's
me
not
to
doing
boo
that,
me?
though.
Or are you booing me because I got into it with CM Punk? That's somebody you guys like. That's
Go
not here,
that
by the
route.
way. But he ain't. But there's no money because he's not here.
Right.
But
I think he's going to get
big.
that. He's going to get that regardless, though, because a lot of fans do feel like Jack Perry
wasn't getting
CM Punk.
Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, look what they did at the pay-per-view. All right.
Mm-hmm.
When they set him on fire, and then he comes out later on with not something whatsoever, right? And wins the fucking match.
Yeah, that was wild. That was
all right.
wild.
Now that's stupid, but then I got a guy here named Kane, who was the brother of the Undertaker, who was set on fire, and he's all disfigured and wearing a suit and shit, and has his face covered up because he got burns, right?
Yep.
But this dude literally probably 5 minutes before this, 5 or 10 minutes before this, he's coming out with the gel, the retardant gel on him and shit. So you already know something's about to happen. Gets set on fire, then comes back later on not selling it, and then he's out there. Then he's out there on the show on Wednesday not selling it again. But you just got set on fire. No burns. Nothing whatsoever. Motherfucker, you should be looking like Freddy Krueger.
Fact.
but nothing. That's the whole point. And then Okada. The big pop of the week. Oh, shut up, bitches.
I'm not gonna lie, I popped for
That's
that.
groundbreaking to me. That's excellent shit. Like, my
I ain't gonna lie, I
that's
popped
great.
for that.
It's like,
I didn't
it's like,
expect
okay.
it.
Yeah, but it's like, okay. But dude, you can barely cut a fucking promo.
True.
So congratulations.
True. But that I popped for. Because I was like, oh, that was funny. Because even they didn't know that was coming. So, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But you would go Wardlow first.
I would go Wardlow first, and quite honestly, let me tell you something. I don't have a real issue with the Young Bucks like everybody else. I just don't believe. That's the problem. You can't tell production, and I get now why they did it, but you can't tell production to cut the music. We're over budget. When you look back there and see that Tony Khan is sitting there, he's running production. He's at the Gorilla. How does that make sense?
It don't, but in the heat of it,
Come on, man.
I didn't find a problem with it in the heat of it.
Come on, dude. Really?
I didn't.
These EVPs are telling you. And then what? Didn't Jack Perry bring him out, Tony Khan out there, or some shit?
Yeah, he did.
Why is Jack Perry of all people putting his hands on the owner. That's like Santino Marella putting his hands on Mr. McMahon. Ain't gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
come on, dude. It's like once again, I go back to another history lesson in public. I go back to this. It goes back to the NWO. Bischoff wasn't revealing himself. This shit was going on, but guess who was behind it, right? DiBiase.
It was Bischoff, yeah.
But
yeah.
DiBiase.
But so if you're going with Wardlow, I would say put him in the Elite. Just put him in there. They need
kick somebody out.
Then has
who would you kick out, the Elite?
Jack Perry.
It could be Jack Perry, but then it could be Okada. Because why is Okada in this group? Okada. They don't want to boo Okada.
Oh yeah, or Okada too.
And if you want to do something with Perry, okay, well, fine. You want to make Perry be something. What's Wardlow doing right now? He's being a lackey again, right? Okay, well, fuck it. Put him with Jack Perry then.
Dude, that's all
Jack
of
Perry's
AEW's big stars.
Yeah, I understand that. And that's the whole premise. That's the whole point. Because they have no direction for them. That's it. You're okay. Look, oh my God. Who is the biggest one on the roster right now that has not done shit since they turned him? He's one of them. But I got somebody even worse than that. Luchasaurus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I complain. The chief reason I complained that him and Swerve were in a match together was because they really haven't done anything with Luchasaurus.
He's just standing there with Christian.
Yep, they haven't really done anything with him. And even when so they had the story with Luchasaurus, and they had him like they got him over and essentially against Christian when he had the TNT title, and they cut it off. Like, for what?
Yeah, and the question is this: now that MJF is back, well, what's Christian going to do? Because essentially, you've been doing MJF's act.
So essentially, yep.
So what are you gonna do? Wardlow needs to change. Let's see. Wardlow needs to change his ring entrance music and his ring, his in-ring wrestling where he powerbombs people. Yeah, 4-star match ring wrestling. Thank you. That's what I've been saying. The entrance music for me was a big problem because when Goldberg would come out, you know it's Goldberg. That music hits, the pyrotechnics goes off, you know who it is. Batista would come out, you know who it was. I thought the same thing for Wardlow. When Wardlow would come out with that terrible music, the presentation was all wrong. It should have been some badass music. It should have been pyrotechnics going all over the place. The dude's matches and what they were doing, his matches should have been very short. Very short matches. Powerbomb Symphony, send the crowd on me. That's how Goldberg got over.
They had it. They
didn't get over that. Yeah, but it also proved, like he just said, it also proved that he could work because he can work because he had that match with MJF. It was a built-in story there of this shit, and I'm thinking to myself too. It's like kind of where you go with MJF here, because it's not the same MJF that it was. It's a now hybrid version of MJF that we're going to see. We're going to see MJF being the badass, but it's more of a hybrid version. He's evolved now, you know. And it's kind of like starting from basic. They realized that what they were doing before wasn't working. So that's going to be MJF going back to what he should be. And it's kind of like, once again, Wardlow would be the guy I would push. I would push him there. And yeah, the Elite, yes, I would drop Okada is what I would do.
I agree with that.
Okada should not be in this group. Christian is number one heel in AEW. MJF is not a heel. He's doing the heel face Gimmicks Stone Cold. That only can work for so long because
he's got to pick a side.
He's got to pick a side.
He's got to pick a side.
And Christian's the only number one heel by default. He's number one heel by default because MJF exactly.
Yeah,
that's the thing. He would
not to say Christian's doing bad work, but I don't think Christian's doing bad.
I don't think Christian's doing bad work. He's doing it's entertaining shit, but it's like it doesn't feel organic because you never saw Christian acting like this in any time in his career. When did you see
that? Being said, though, I appreciate the shit out of it.
I just don't like Nick Wayne and his mom out there.
I
That's
don't.
just me though.
I don't mind that if and you're right with Christian. I don't mind that because he is such a heat magnet. Like that, I'm willing to be like, all right, well, if you get rid of the rest of them and just be what you are, Christian, like you're still good. I understand the whole patriarchy shit, but for me, you're right. He hasn't done this work in his career, this type of work in his career. But I appreciate that he's giving this to us
So
at this point in
let me
his career.
let me ask you a question, because they've been in this faction for a while. This Christian Cage
Mm-hmm.
and everybody. Can you say that since Nick Wayne has been with Christian Cage, that he's more over than he was before that? I don't think so.
No,
Right?
no,
The Elite,
but
or what is it? What is it?
he said the Elite are ratings killers. They are non-watchable ratings killers.
Yeah, we agree. He's a very smart man.
I'm gonna agree with that, but I do wonder if this story doesn't pan out for the Elite. Like they won at Double or Nothing, but what did that get them in the aftermath?
I don't think he got them anything. I mean, what
Right.
do you get when you don't have any? Like, what are we fighting for here? Once again, a history lesson in public. Let's add some sound effects. I go back in time. Look, here's the thing. What was the motive of the NWO? Was to destroy WCW, to take over WCW. Okay?
Right.
And they had reason. Hall and Nash had previously been there. The Diamond Stud, Oz, Vinny Vegas.
Yep.
Previously been there. Coming back, we're going to destroy this place. What was Hulk Hogan's reason? You people don't appreciate me. I'm gonna turn heel on you. I'm gonna help you. We're all WWF guys, anyways. What is the motivation here of AEW and the Elite? Oh, we're gonna take it back to what it used to be. What the fuck are you talking about? You can't
I
take
guess
it
they
back to
want
what it used to be when you got.
I guess they want to go back to 2019, right?
Okay, where's Cody Rhodes?
He's not there.
That's a big part of it. Where's Omega?
Yep. He's not there.
Correct. So those are big parts of it. You can't take AEW back to how it used to be,
right?
Because it's different time now, man. It's
right.
Just the players aren't there anymore. So that's why
right.
I don't understand this whole this hostile takeover. I don't understand that. This it should not. It should not have been anarchy in the arena, bro. It should have been blood and guts.
It should have been. It should have been. It should have been.
When you have high stakes like this, back in the day, history lesson. We want to sell some shit in WCW, whether it be the Four Horsemen, whoever. War Games.
Yep.
We want to sell some shit between the NWO and WCW, War Games.
War Games. Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
The Bloodline versus all these different dudes. What was it, 2 years ago? War Games. Sami Zayn's turn, remember? Turned on Kevin Owens. Happened at Survivor Series, War Games.
Yep.
That's the difference between the two shows. The WWE builds something. We know we're building to something right now with the Bloodline. The anticipation is rising. We're building to something here.
Right.
We know what we're building to. We're building to the Civil War between the two sides here.
Right.
We're building to this. You don't, and that's anticipation. We don't have that with the Elite here because you already know the players. The Scapegoat, the Young Bucks, Okada. You have one guy in that entire faction who actually is over and people don't want to boo him. And then you have the other two guys that are not over.
Yep.
That's not what about this group right now that says that we are the Elite? Nothing. That's the whole point.
Nothing at all.
If you have to say, okay, what's the Elite? You know what the Elite was? The Elite was the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega. Yep. That's the Elite. That's it.
Yep.
Because of these talents here. Do you put all the rest of these people in here? That's just a subsection of the Elite. You feel what I'm saying? That's like the NWO B team. You know what I mean? It just wasn't the same. You knew it wasn't the same anymore with the NWO when the NWO was in, what was it? August of '99.
Right.
What was the story was the main problem in AEW is Richie Rich. Yeah. There is no story. That's the whole point I'm saying. That's the only point. Hogan didn't want to do it. He was supposed to be Sting. Hogan had the last man turning up. Yeah, I know the story, man. That's one of my things. I know the entire story because Bischoff originally came to Hogan about turning heel a year before, and Hogan says, "Brother, until you walk in my red and yellow boots, you don't know what you're talking about. I got to pick my kids up from school." Then Hogan sees what's happening on the TV because originally, yeah, Sting was going to do it, but I was talking to my wife about this. It would never have worked with Sting. It had to be Hogan.
No.
It never would have.
It'd have been short-lived.
Everything happened. Absolutely. Everything that happened the way it did. For Sting to turn into the Crow Sting, for Lex Luger to get that push, for Hogan to turn heel, for DiBiase to come over. They had a good plan in the beginning. And by the middle of 97, that plan was starting to go, a little bit. And then by 98, it was done.
Yep. Agreed.
But with this story here, what's the story? There is no story, as he just said. There is no story. Right. I don't know the story. I'm confused as hell. You're battling with a guy who don't fucking work there. That's the story. We're going to show the video next week on Dynamite. We're going to show the backstage footage and address the Wembley incident. Stay tuned.
Now, I believe they probably had a plan, but seeing how crappy the reaction was to the beginning of it, they kind of tried to get away from it. Because inserting CM Punk, a guy who doesn't work there anymore, into a storyline, it damaged them. And I believe the entire wrestling world let them know that this was not it. And they may have gotten deep in it, but I'm pretty sure certain shit changed.
Could be. I just thought it was bad from the beginning, and that's when they had
it was terrible.
That big decline happened right after they showed that video.
It was terrible.
I never would have showed that. Like I still to this day, as we do this podcast right now, I still to this day don't understand why they showed that video. What did you accomplish in that video other than showing
it didn't serve a purpose for anything.
It did not. Nothing.
You could have probably talked about it and it wouldn't have been as bad. It still would have been bad, but showing the footage was crazy. Like why would you do that?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you like this, and don't crucify me for what I'm about to say here.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you we were talking about Wardlow earlier and how they dropped the ball completely with Wardlow. I remember another guy that the ball was dropped, and he was a star, he was a superstar, and this happened in WCW. Same as Bret Hart.
No, I agree. I'm not going to crucify you for that one.
Yeah, same kind of situation. But because Wardlow is not the wrestler that Bret Hart was, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Same type of situation. They just had no plan. Now there's been speculation. Bischoff says that Bret he wasn't the same performer he was at the Montreal, which I kind of believe that. Bret Hart looked pissed as fuck when he showed up on that Nitro, the very first Nitro he was on. He didn't want to be there because of Montreal. And I understand that.
Yep.
Wardlow here, they have an opportunity here to do something and to turn course here with Wardlow. Why they're not doing it, I don't know. Maybe there's a connection here with Cody Rhodes, is why he doesn't get pushed. Not sure. But I do know one thing. Ethan Page is crossover. Sean Spears crossover. Jay Cargill crossover. Cody crossover. I believe when you said this mass migration that's about to happen over to WWE.
Oh, it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to happen. And a lot of these people probably say, well, I don't have a problem going to NXT just as long as I can be on the big show and make it to the bigger show.
Right.
So
now,
showing you.
Now, with that being said, are we going to get to a point where either NXT or some of WWE starts to resemble 2019 AEW? Because a lot of those guys, Ethan Page was kind of a later guy, but Jay Cargill was towards the beginning, but she was a manager. Cody, day one company guy. We might be getting Arn Anderson.
I heard that.
As a manager for Cody in WWE, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility of Ricky Starks up and then leaving. Andrade is also a guy that left, although he's not happy right now.
Okay.
So, but there's a lot of people that ended up leaving. Sean Spears doing okay. Ethan Page impact right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? So like, at what point are guys gonna see this and be like, I'm getting out? Because I think you're starting to get to a point to where if they see enough of these guys, like Ethan Page, if he's at a stand and deliver main event and they weren't doing shit with him in AEW, like how much of that influences somebody's decision with the contract coming up? You know what I'm saying?
It's all going to come down to simply this, and this is what Jim Ross says, and I agree with it. It's cash and creative. That's
Yeah.
two things there. Okay,
Yep.
and what it comes down to is if, and there's probably people that genuinely love and adore and care about AEW. Okay, that's great. But what it comes down for me is it's going to come down to dollars and cents. It's going to come down to money. Right.
Right.
If you want to
Right.
push me, that's fine. As long as my checks don't bounce, whatever. If that's the kind of company you want. But at the end of the day, it's going to be, okay, I've invested all this time and years into this craft and learning this art and becoming the best I can be. Do I want to continue to sit on the sideline or do I want to go to WWE? And what kind of offer
Right.
can I get at WWE? What kind of money can I make over at WWE? That's going to be the question here. Or am I going to just
Right.
continue to sit here and just, I collect a paycheck, I'm living okay, and not do anything? That's what it's going
Right.
to come down to. It's going to come
Right.
down to your love of the art or your love of the money.
And I do think there's room for people on AEW to flourish. It's just that when I see guys like an Ethan Page go over and immediately right off the bat they have him inserted in something, or I'm seeing somebody that actually helped build AEW from the ground up, go to WWE and become their champion, and he's carrying the company right now. Like that, for me, if I was really into the craft, that would hold a lot of influence over me.
Yeah.
If it really wasn't, if it wasn't about dollars and cents and it was more about the craft, and I'm seeing people that I used to work with over here go over there and be successful, then shit, I want to be successful too. Because it ain't happening here.
Yeah, I totally get that. So I guess
So
the future is
I
going to
do
see.
think like, yeah, you're going to see a lot of these guys looking at, and two names in particular I'm looking at right. Well, one really that I'm looking at right now is Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Wardlow too. But Ricky and Wardlow, it's like these guys, and it's weird because I find myself comparing AEW to WCW a lot, but in the sense of you have all of this young talent that you're not pushing. Like you have them on the roster, you've introduced your audience to them, the audience has gravitated towards them, but you go with the star power. Yeah, I get that you need the star power, but you also need to make new stars too. And you have them on your roster.
So I guess Ethan Page said this tonight on NXT. He says, "I could have sat my ass at home for the last 2 years and collected a check. I ain't about that. Ethan Page wants opportunity."
Amen. Amen. And he said that while he was in AEW. And what made me like him is the fact that he was on Ring of Honor and he was like, I'm going to make Ring of Honor the best because I'm on it. And that meant a lot to me. I was like, this is a guy that you want to invest in because this guy is actually, he's here to get better and he's here to be a workhorse for the company. Why the fuck don't you invest in these guys? Like, please give them the opportunity. Guys like Ricky Starks, like the guy had so much potential, and it's kind of like you're wasting it away. Girls too, ladies too. Like you have people like Saraya that you're now putting into a storyline, but not even Saraya. You have people like Kira Hogan that can go. Kira Hogan is probably untapped potential. Queen Aminata, untapped potential. Like put these ladies on TV because you have a stacked roster. Give them a shot. There's no reason, although she's killing it on Ring of Honor, like I need to see before this year ends, Mercedes Moné versus Athena. Hell, give me Athena versus Thunder Rosa. Give me a program with these two.
So, would you consider at this point Ring of Honor? Okay, I understand that Tony acquired this company, this IP. Do you
Right.
consider this to be a developmental brand for AEW, or is
I
this
do.
its own organization?
I do. I would see it as a developmental. But you
Okay.
have people on there. And again, the people that you aren't using, like if they need work, put them on Ring of Honor. Granted, and this is my whole problem with Ring of Honor, it's not on television because I've been saying it for now they've kind of trailed off with it, but Ring of Honor at one point was the best brand. Then Collision, then Dynamite, then Rampage. The only problem with Ring of Honor is that it wasn't on television. Now, you don't even feature your champions on Ring of Honor. You put them on the main shows. For what? It's not going to make me tune in to Ring of Honor. Like, unless they have a television show, the average fan probably doesn't really care about Ring of Honor. But they are a good brand. They are if you really are in tune with the product like that, Ring of Honor is a very good show. It's just people don't see it. And that's my problem with it. Like, they're coming here for Death Before Dishonor next month. I'm probably going to go to the show, but how many mainstream fans really know what Ring of Honor is enough to want to go to this show? You know what I mean? But you have good talent on the show and you can develop them. You have somebody like an Athena who she has a wrestling school out here, and a lot of the people that have been on No Gimmicks go to this school. They're very good at what they do. They're awesome at what they do. They have weekly shows here, and you have somebody like that leading Ring of Honor. But put them on television. Let's show the audience like what you're actually doing with them. So
I honestly believe it's only going to be a matter of time before we see Athena back in WWE.
I think so. I would be happy for her, but again, if she were on AEW television,
yeah, and that's
massive,
right
bro.
there. Why is she not on AEW TV? Out of all of the talent that they push, why is she not on there?
I'm going to go on record to say this right now. Athena is, if she's not top 3, she's top 5.
So
women's wrestlers in the world right now.
So let me answer this question when it comes to Mercedes. So you watched the pay-per-view, and this is what I hear from people who watched it, a lot, people who were there in the building. Willow was more over than Mercedes.
Yep. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Because Willow's put the work in, and Willow is a part of the crowd. Now, their match was very good, but I'm telling you now, if that were Athena, we'd still be talking about this match.
So do you think we are going to in their women's roster right now? Do you think at some point we're going to get Saraya versus Mercedes?
At some point, yeah, because they're hinting towards it right now.
Do you
at
think
some point we will get it?
And obviously we're going to see Mercedes versus Dr. Britt at some point.
Yep. At some point we will see it.
Yeah.
For what I would think, we'd probably get Mercedes versus Saraya at Wembley.
That makes perfect sense. That's where I would do it.
Yeah.
I would
I think we get it.
You save all your big matches for Wembley. I'm very curious to see what the turnstile count's going to be this time at Wembley.
I would imagine it's probably going to be a dramatic dip. I'm going to say 60,000.
We'll see.
We'll see.
That was being facetious.
but here's how you get me invested in Wembley. Mm-hmm. Right? I know they're doing Ospreay versus Swerve at Forbidden Door. That match is set. I would have Swerve beat Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door.
I don't mean to cut you off right quick. You have your phone by you, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to send you something right quick. Just take a look at this picture.
Okay.
We're doing this live on the show, people.
But yeah,
I just saw this.
I would do Swerve versus Ospreay. Have Swerve beat Ospreay at Forbidden Door, then run it back at Wembley. What the hell is this? What?
How many people you see there in that picture?
Not a lot.
Yeah, that was to watch the debut of the Acolyte tonight.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll talk more about that off air. I got
wow.
some shit I gotta tell you. But it's 10:35, baby.
But yeah, I would say run it back at Wembley with those two. You'll probably draw a good crowd. At that point, I still don't want Swerve to lose the championship. But if you were going to do it, I would have him beat Ospreay at Forbidden Door. That establishes him as a champion credibly. And then you run it back at Wembley, and then you have Ospreay beat Swerve there.
That's a short reign.
It's a short reign. I get it, but the writing's on the wall. And
yeah, unfortunately,
it is on the wall. But if you want it to be a good match, then have Swerve beat Ospreay at Forbidden Door.
So let's switch real quick. Before we wrap this up, let's switch real quick over to the WWE.
Yep.
So Uncle Dave is reporting that Roman Reigns is set to return in July to the WWE. And
what do they have going on in July?
Well, for getting ready for SummerSlam.
Well, yeah, I know that, but do they have anything in July?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. So they're getting ready for Reigns to come back, and obviously Reigns is going to be, when he comes back, he's going to be a tweener.
Yeah,
he's going to be a tweener though. He's not going to be full-fledged babyface yet, but they're leading to this. So the big story here is going to be obviously, well, what do you do next year for WrestleMania? How do we do? Well, obviously it's going to be Roman versus The Rock. That's the match that they want to do this year. They're going to do it next year. So
I don't know if I want to see that though. I'm gonna be honest.
I honestly think it's 2 years too late.
I agree with that, and that's why I'm like I'm on the fence about that. Y'all fucked us out of this match 3 times.
It's a different dynamic, but it's a different dynamic now because if The Rock continues with the final boss. That's what makes it compelling because it's the final boss. It's a different breed of The Rock. And I guess I'll go back to what I said earlier about I haven't seen, when I said Christian hasn't done this, I didn't see The Rock do any of this shit during his entire career. So I guess it's different now. These guys turn up the volume a little bit more. Whatever. Okay, so I'll give Christian a pass. I have anything against Christian. I think Christian is a great athlete. I enjoy Captain Charisma and all that. So it's just different because it's like I saw a guy in MJF doing the same gimmick, same shit,
right?
And then you're now doing it, and I kind of real quick going back to AEW, it's funny. Wouldn't it be kind of interesting if you saw some kind of interaction between Christian and Jack Perry and the Luchasaurus? Because Christian can kind of say, "See, I knew you had it in you," kind of like that. How Perry is now as the ultra heel. I knew you had it. And why isn't, from a story perspective, because the Elite inserted Christian Cage right into this match with Swerve, why wouldn't Jack Perry want revenge against Christian? They have history.
They're both heels.
Why would he? Doesn't matter. The NWO went after all people. They didn't give a fuck about if you were heel or face.
Yeah, that's true too.
I'm just saying. That's what I would have. That's what I did. Like, I got a problem with you. Like, you took my dinosaur friend away from me, so I'm gonna take you out. You know what I mean?
All right, I get it. So July 6th is Money in the Bank in Toronto.
Copy that. So I think that's where we're kind of going to see some shit happen. They got a lot. They got a lot to go with there. Not sure
They
what
do.
Jimmy Uso's status is right now. Don't know. Jay, listen. Here's a good question for you. Okay, here's a good question. And I saw this, and I'm like, let me go ahead and ask this on the podcast: is Jay Uso over, or is his entrance over?
On this one, I'm gonna say Jay Uso is over.
Okay.
I'll go out on a limb and say that one. So for me, and I'm gonna compare this to Seth freaking Rollins. Was Seth freaking Rollins over, or was his music over? In this case, I would say his music. But in Jey Uso's case, I think the presentation that he puts out in the ring, kind of similar to The Rock, he can carry a match. He can keep the crowd invested throughout a match. His entrance is fucking amazing, but that energy translates also in the ring.
I think Jey Uso is over, and he was over way before the entrance. Let's not forget that. So that's where I'm going to go with. It's Jey Uso is the one that's over. The entrance just enhances him. Kind of not much different than the Ultimate Warrior.
Agreed.
He was over because of the music, but it was also because of the presentation. I don't know if it would have been the same without the music. Of course, I do, because I've seen videos of Warrior without the music, and it just wasn't the same. The music is what popped him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's no way you can hear fucking metal guitars at a fast rate and this motherfucker sprinting to the ring. Like,
yeah.
Like a madman.
If you're not getting with that, then it's like you see him come out, you hear the music, dun, 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 and they're like, yeah.
This is pure cocaine. We just don't know it because we're kids.
Right. And Warrior was my favorite.
The promos, bro. The promos.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. Yes. Scott Hall's my favorite, but
well, I'm talking about as a kid. Warrior was my favorite.
Motherfuckers are cool.
But then, then you got Scott Hall, Uzi Machismo. Scott Hall had swag before swag was a word, bro.
I just saw him hanging out with black kids with a whole bunch of chains and shit on. I was like, oh, this motherfucker's cool.
Yeah.
He in the hood.
Driving around.
He from the hood like us.
Driving the Cadillacs and shit.
Some motherfuckers in the shit. I like them.
Yeah.
All right, man. Final thoughts. What you got?
What are the final thoughts? Well, the final thoughts are this. I'm gonna wait to watch Star Wars Theory in his review of the Acolyte.
Okay.
They're basically saying that the third episode of the Acolyte is going to destroy you if you are a pre-Disney Star Wars fan. It's going to destroy you, and you're not going to want to watch Star Wars anymore. Kind of got a inclination of what it is. I'm not a fan of it. So we'll see what happens with that. And other than that, man, once again, people, all right, and I sincerely mean this, help control the pet population, okay? It's very hot outside, people. I mean, it got to about 103 degrees, but it felt like 110 is what they said today. Okay? Now, if you don't like to be outside walking barefoot and blisters and around these parts, there's scorpions and all types of shit.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think your dog is going to like that? You think your dog wants to be out there walking around on that hot-ass pavement with their paws, burning their paws because it's time to go for a walk? You really think that? So people, use common sense, all right? Just don't do it, all right? That's all I'm saying. Help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered, and long live the empire.
All right. Don't forget, we have a plethora of shows. So if you didn't catch us live, follow us on thedfpn.com, and No Gimmicks has a tab there. This show will be uploaded to dfpn.com as well as all streaming platforms. So again, that is thedfpn.com or wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, if you listen to them on YouTube, because now Google Podcasts is on YouTube. We are there too. So make sure you guys follow us, and shout out to everyone that tuned in. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We actually had a pretty good audience tonight. So
and don't forget, right now on all the streaming platforms, including the DFPN.com, episode, what was it, 71 of the No Gimmicks podcast.
Great show.
Just dropped today. Okay, that was the show we did last week, but this is Jabron right here. Didn't upload it in time. Okay, so
no, I uploaded it, but I scheduled it for Thursday, and then I left town.
Exactly. So that's right there. That's what I'm talking about. Use your Jedi mind trick, but don't forget. Check it out. Leave us some feedback, 5-star review if you will in public. All right, because we put out the best product we can possible here on the No Gimmicks podcast and across the entire USCM. I'm talking about the Queens of Nerdom. Okay, we got Mims, we got the Smoke Pit, we got the USCN, we got everybody over here doing our thing. So hey, it's going to be the summer of DFPN. All right,
it is. Oh, last thing before I go.
What?
So should I announce it right now?
No, we'll hold off. I haven't figured it out yet. Yeah, I haven't figured it out yet. Still got to figure these things out.
Right.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. You can do it. I mean, because we can put it out there, because if we don't do it, we don't do it. But you can put it out there.
Yeah, we'll put it out there. Fuck it. So on we are going to be the No Gimmicks podcast. We're going to be taking a cue from our friends over at the Queens of Nerdom, seeing as how they had so much fun at Phoenix Fan Fusion. There is a Comic-Con, the Greater Austin Comic-Con, coming July 20th and 21st. No Gimmicks will be there as press, and we'll be doing the cosplay life, and we will be interviewing folks on the Greater Austin Comic-Con. It's a pretty good panel of folks coming to that Comic-Con too. So
I wonder what cosplay, if we end up going with cosplay, am I going to bring? I have so many.
Just bring one and make sure.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to do Rogue One Vader, if I want to do Empire Strikes Back Vader, if I want to do a New Hope Vader. I don't know if I want to be a Jedi or if I want to be a Sith. I don't know.
I know what I want to be.
An asshole.
I will be that. Definitely will be that. But yeah, we will be at the Greater Austin Comic-Con July 20th, 21st. If you see us, come say hello. And we will be having us some fun in Austin. So that is our announcement, and we are going to be working towards that. So pretty excited. And thank you to the team for all their work and keeping us all inspired to do good things and reach higher heights and grow this brand that is DFPN. So you guys are doing awesome work, but appreciate it. But that's it, man. You got anything else?
Nope, I don't have anything else. And that's going to conclude here the No Gimmicks podcast from the DFPN. Don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon. $3 a month will get you unlimited access to everything that we do here on DFPN. Also, check out DFPN.com. That's pretty much it, bro.
All right, man. So, for myself and for Frank D, thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next time. Until then, enjoy whatever it is you want to enjoy, and peace.
And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmicks.